is from Johnoi and Albert, who are the co-founders of Black Men Teach. I'm hoping you're following them on Twitter already. They had a launch recently, and I'm going to invite them on and hand over to them to share the journey they've been on as Black male teachers and about the network that they are growing. So welcome, Albert and Johnoi. Over to you.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Johnoi.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, guys. Thank you. I'm Albert. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm one of the co-founders of Black Men Teach, along with Johnoi. There we go. I hope you can see our slides. They're working. I'm not sure if that's me me sharing.
It's me.
But yes, Johnoi, it's you. So we'll just quickly introduce ourselves. So, like I said, I'm Albert. Mr. Adeyemi is what they call me in schools. I teach in Bedford. I'm a current head of year and PE and maths teacher. So I'm head of year 7. I was recently promoted for a maternity cover in May last year. And now that's recently just been made a permanent position. And yeah, Johnoi, go for it.
Yeah, so similar to Albert, I'm also head of year 7. Head of year 7 at a school in South London, Croydon, the Archbishop Lanfranc Academy. The kids, they call me Mr. Josephs, but yeah, Johnoi by name. I also teach religious education and citizenship. And ultimately, one of the main reasons why I go into teaching is purely based on the fact that I really, really believe in impact. And making as much impact as possible, and that every kid needs a champion, in the famous words of Rita Pearson. So let's go to the next slide.
BMT wanted. So I have a question for you guys. I want you to sort of think about a time where you've potentially felt unwanted, unneeded, or undervalued. All right, so not wanted, not needed, or undervalued. I want you to think potentially whether that was because of your gender. So have you ever felt that you're not wanted in a scenario because of your gender? And potentially, have you ever felt not wanted, needed, or undervalued because of the color of your skin? Now, this is a thing that Black men in education experience and face across the UK. All right, it's not an experience that's isolated to Black men, because I'm sure each of us have had particular scenarios where we haven't felt valued or we haven't felt wanted. But the concerning thing is Black men or Black females as well are feeling this with uncertainty, knowing that it's potentially because of the color of their skin. Now, I have a situation where in my school, I've felt valued. I've felt valued. I've felt like I've had purpose, especially by the students. I feel like the students appreciate the work that we do and the work that I do through the mentoring and through all of the different initiatives I try to bring into my school. However, there was one particular moment where I did feel I began to question my place in that school. I began to question my future. Now, in the school, I was very open about my career aspirations. I was very open, and pretty much every member of staff knew, and through the work that I was doing, gathered that I wanted to develop along the pastoral route. And that's where my passions were. That's where my heart was. So there was a head of year opportunity that opened up over 2 years ago now. So not the current opportunity that I've got, but it was one prior to this. And I went into that feeling confident, knowing that the things that I've been doing in school and outside of school have sort of given me different experiences that would suitably cater me for this role. But unfortunately, I wasn't successful. When I received the feedback after going through a day where members of staff were saying, yeah, you got this. The students were saying, oh, sir, we loved your assembly. So I just was left with many questions in my head. Hold on, why wasn't I suitable? Why wasn't I successful in my application at this moment in time? All right, it was a good friend of mine, a colleague of mine that was successful in the position. He was a white male. And as a Black man in education, after receiving so many comments about, oh, you're ready, this is the right role for you, I'm sure you've got it. It just left me with a doubt in my mind whether my face fit, whether I was valued, wanted, needed, in my setting. And that is one of the reasons, partly why we've got Black Men Teach today, to ensure that Black men have a safe space to go for support, go when they are going through troubled times. And it's not to say I stuck it out. I stayed at my school because through reflection, I'm a true believer in everything happened for a reason. So I wasn't bitter. I wasn't, but I just knew that I'm there for the children. Right, I feel like I do have purpose. The work I am doing is meaningful, and I had to keep going. But the purpose of Black Men Teach, which we'll get into and we'll share, going through the PowerPoint, is that, you know, for some Black men across the UK, and we've spoken to Black educators who don't have a support network, who feel like they're isolated, who don't have anyone to turn to. So I'll stop with my little story there because of time, and we'll move on. But from that little sort of insight into a part of my career, my journey, is why me and Johnoi have got together, and we're building this community, a support network specifically for Black men in education.
Yeah, so just to add on to what Albert was saying, everyone has their own personal story, their own personal journey that's kind of led them where they've asked themselves that question: is it wanted, needed, or is it necessarily both? So if we was to look at this concept of Black men teach or Black male teachers being needed, these are some of the data that we've kind of researched and we found, and I think I've highlighted some of the key ones. Ultimately, 85% of all teachers in state-funded schools are considered to be white British. And of this cohort, we have 75.8% of teachers who ultimately are women. Now, the Black ethnic only account for 2.3% of the workforce. So as you can see from just some of the stats that I've just shown here, is that it raises this question that there is a need for Black male teachers.
I think, you know, looking back, I watched a diverse ed event where it was in October 2020, and we had a Black male speaker, Gervais Walter. Gervais. Hannah, you may remember, and he spoke on the stats, and 0.7% of Black male teachers, and he was sort of a call to action, and hopefully today we can provide part of that solution. And I know from listening, some of the audience were asking, how comes there aren't many Black males on your panel? And looking at the event today, I've seen, including myself and Johnoi, there are at least 4 Black males that are about to go to speak and share with you today. And that's what Black Men Teach is about. It's about raising the profile of Black men in education, because there are Black men in education. I just believe that they need to be brought to the forefront, celebrated, and given a safe space to promote their positive and physical, mental health. It's all about raising awareness of current issues, but also putting in steps to sort of combat that and change the narrative, especially with regards to recruitment and retention of Black male teachers. In our next slide, where we talk about our structure and what some of the stuff that we've done already, we will sort of show how we're, through Black Men Teach, trying to sort of change the narrative and change the picture, change how education is viewed by Black young men who are coming up and maybe not value education, maybe not value the profession as a teacher.
So there are 4 main structures or services to Black Men Teach. The first one is forums and talks. So ultimately, we engage in a lot of speaking engagements with key players and benefactors, ultimately promoting the work of Black Men Teach. We have a community hub. So this is a social aspect where we want to reach out to a lot across the whole UK, even beyond that, of Black male teachers to come together to network in a formal and an informal setting. We also have an outreach. So this is where we kind of go into school. So we understand that it's raised this question of either the chicken or the egg. So ultimately, you want to kind of go back into school and make school an appealing place for Black male students, ultimately that they would want to come back and impact their own community and those who are coming after them. And lastly, we offer mentoring and support. So all that we do is all focused on the fact of raising the profile of teaching amongst Black males, and also amplifying the voices of those who are already teaching.
Yeah, so through our structure, we hope to sort of tackle the three key points that we've mentioned in terms of recruitment, retention, but also promotion as well. So through our structure, we go back into secondary schools, we support current teachers, and we offer CPD type events in terms of supporting them through progression and sort of being resilient in education, because when you are being the change that you want to see, it takes a certain amount of resilience in the profession. Here's what we've achieved already. So amazingly, we've been able to go into 2 different schools. Johnoi has gone in to speak to 2 secondary schools and spoken with over 100 Year 11 boys already, and we've only been actively launched for a couple of months. Which is fantastic, and it just shows that there is a need and there is a place for us Black men teach within the education sector. So far on our mentoring program, we've got up to 13 Year 11 boys. We had our first mentoring session on Thursday this week, where we were able to connect, and we will meet with them monthly and have various other events going on as well. Johnoi, if you wanted to mention that,
so in terms of like the King's Advocate Award, so this is something launched by King's College London, and we've so successfully managed to be a part of it. Now, this is something that's going to be stored for you and sent on our social media, so please do follow us. But I think more so, we want to kind of leave with this slide up. So we want to call everyone to an action. If you want to explain, Albert?
Yeah, so this is essentially a call to action. So it's something, if you've sort of you've resonated with anything we've said, if anything that we've said or our purpose, our vision sits with you, you can scan the QR code, and that will take you to a tweet, and you can tweet in support of Black Men Teach. All right, so if you scan the QR code, I'll do a little demo. It's a little bit interactive, and you can begin to connect with us, and it will take you to a tweet, and you're able to tweet in support of Black Men Teach, and to show that you stand with us and that you believe in our mission and you believe in raising the profile of Black men in education as well. All right. I just want to say thank you.
With your high techness here, Albert and Johnoi, I'm loving a QR code. My pleasure for you to join us. Thank you for giving us your time. A couple of questions. Can we just take that slide down, Richard, so we can see everybody? So my first question to both of you, let's cut to the chase and be real here. Johnoi, in your own schooling experience, how many men of colour were you taught by?
2.
From the whole, in your whole educational experience?
The whole journey. Yeah.
Wow. Albert, how about you?
I was very lucky. I think my school experience, I had over 5 Black males. I was in the school in southwest London. We had a Black female head teacher. I was very lucky. It's when I left that schooling experience that I realized, okay, this isn't the same story for everyone across the board. I was, very lucky.
So, do you mean my experience? I wasn't taught by a man of colour until I went to university, and there was one university lecturer, Dr. Adeyemi Johnoi. So, do you mean I think that's the reality check for us, isn't it? When we're talking about the lack of representation, the lack of visibility. Johnoi, I used to teach down the road from you in Croydon. Like, how diverse is your staff in your school? Because your students will be very diverse.
Yeah. So, and this is, I'll say, and I could openly say this. So, my school is currently working on making sure that we are diverse, especially as we kind of go up onto SLT and so on and so forth. The middle leadership is very diverse. SLT could be more diverse. And I work with a great head teacher who's been actively purposing the fact that he wants to make it a lot more diverse to represent the growing ecosystem of our school, because my school has changed over the past 5 and 10 years.
Okay, brilliant. How about in Bedford, Albert? How diverse is your staff workforce?
So our staff workforce, in terms of the teaching workforce, is very diverse. We have a number of Black men and women. We have various of Asian men and women. As we progress in terms of leadership, in terms of our middle leadership, now I'm the only Black man in our sort of our pastoral leadership. As we progress even higher in senior leadership, it is diverse in terms of men and female, but in terms of race, it is strictly white.
Okay, and thinking about sort of like the recruitment angle, a lot of schools are very focused at the moment in diversifying the workforce to be more representative. But one of the things that we talk about through our training is it's not just about diversifying, it's about being more inclusive and actually creating space and making space. I mean, what are some of the things that your schools are doing to think about the actual culture of how we actually include that diverse representation? Albert, any thoughts on that?
So I could talk specifically on one of our departments. We have our head of history has done fantastic work in terms of the curriculum to ensure that students are engaging in, not especially in key stage 3 when you have some choice. Obviously with GCSE topics it's hard because of what they have to teach, but in terms of key stage 3 diversifying, so looking at black tutors, looking at I saw something the other day where I can't remember what it was, but it was something that I'd never heard of before. But then our history teachers like, actually that's part of our curriculum now, and it's so changes to the curriculum are crucial in terms of celebrating various events and giving students the space to celebrate those events. So not just Black History Month, celebrating Asian history as well, and celebrating various, making students feel welcome within the school, and making sure feel that they have a place. Yes, literally yesterday, I was sending 2 of my year 7s to their tutor group, but then I paused and I questioned what they were doing, and one student from Sri Lanka was showing her friend we have a map as we enter. I was like, oh, that's where I'm from, and I just engaged in that conversation with them and pointed it out, and just conversations like that. Sometimes it's the smaller things, and showing that you value where your students are from, their history, their backgrounds, and their cultures as well. I think that's crucial. And it's just sometimes it's the smaller conversations, giving it time and showing that you care.
Thank you. And Johnoi, like, we quite often are more child-centric in being intentionally inclusive. How about with the staff? Like, what are some of the things that you've experienced about inclusion for the actual diversity of the staff body?
Yeah, so really good question. So at my current school, the head teacher, he has created like a focus group with BAME members of staff across the board, and so we meet quite frequently to ultimately discuss things we can actually do to meet the needs of our school body ultimately. So that's something that he put in place, and it really gives us a voice, and ultimately a voice that is heard. And he's made it a very safe space in the sense that we can go to these kind of meetings and discuss certain things, you know, in terms of like hair or name pronunciation or anything like that that we feel that is ultimately affecting our school population.
Brilliant. That's great advice there for people to take away about creating that safe space for voice and agency. Thank you both for joining us today, and thank you for seeing that gap and that need for this network. We've seen a 6-year kind of journey of lots of different grassroots networks, and I know Men Teach Primary has gone massive, but we know that men of colour in education are such a minoritized group. So thank you so much for creating that space, and we look forward to supporting and collaborating with you on future events as well. So go and enjoy your Saturdays. Lovely to see you.